Good afternoon. My name is Minister Johnny Banks Sr. I'm the Executive Director of Anaka Midnight. Anaka Midnight is located at 400 West 76th Street in Suite 206. We provide services to school-age youth and families revolving around family advocacy and family support services. Those services include wraparound services such as counseling, such as parenting classes, domestic violence and anger management classes, as well as marriage counseling, as well as assistance with computer literacy and things of that nature. And we also work with school-age youth who are going to Chicago Public Schools who are having problems or struggling with their attendance. And that could be anything from just having barriers to their attendance, and we try to make those barriers dissipate. That could be something as simple or something as high risk as chronic truancy, chronic tardiness, in school issues that they're having getting back and forth to class. So Anaka Midnight works closely, and we've been partnered with years with Chicago Public Schools to address some of the issues of the children. We also do mentoring. Our mentoring services are located on site at 400 West 76th Street, as well as we are now doing some mentoring at some of the community-based high schools. Hirsch High School, as an example, we're working with them right now doing a mentoring program wrapped around entrepreneurship and workforce development. So we're excited, as always, about some of the things that we're doing at Anaka Midnight, as well as today excited about our guest, who is doing some great work in the community around something that she is very passionate about. Our guest today is Linda Turner, and she is an executive director. She works with a domestic violence program, and as we talk about domestic violence, and we will in a second, and we get into Domestic Violence Month, it's one of those things that is getting a lot of publicity now. It's getting a lot of press. It's out in the open. People need to talk about it. And Linda has taken that charge, and she'll tell you a little bit more about what she's doing and how she's doing what she's doing. Linda, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So tell the viewing audience about your domestic violence initiative.
Well, the name of my production is Silent Cries. I came up with that name because, of course, I realized that a lot of people or victims of domestic abuse cry out loud, but we can't hear them. People can't hear them. They act out in ways that we just don't understand. Or I would say a person who's never been in that situation understands. Mm-hmm. So it becomes a silent cry. Sometimes you think they're mean or being disrespectful or nasty or just ignorant, as some people may say, when it's just that they're reaching out and they're crying internally. Okay. To the point where you can't hear it. It's a silent cry. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we're able to reach them, but most of the times it's too late.
Yeah, we talk about silent cries. I'm going to try to get, there you go. And that is your program. I'm a voice, not a victim. My journey, my story. And today we have with us Linda Turner. Like I said, she is doing a great work in the community around the issue of working with women who are having this problem, who are not saying anything. And I think the biggest problem that we have with domestic violence and domestic abuse is nobody says anything. So how do you think that should be addressed as far as women speaking out about the abuse or whatever's happening in their homes that causing them to struggle raising their children, raising their families, etc.?
Well, let me say this first. It's not just women.
Okay.
It's all. It's everyone. Women is the majority. Mm-hmm. But how do we address it? Is that what you were asking me?
Yes. What are some of the ideas or solutions that you have to address the issue?
I think you can get involved without physically putting yourself in the situation. For instance, I was going home the other night, and I ran across an incident that happened where I actually saw it take place, but they didn't see me. Mm-hmm. And I'm listening to the girl scream. I mean, the scream was so piercing that it really touched me. It impacted me in a way that just, I'd start honking my horn or whatever. Then I realized the best thing for me to do is to go look for a police car or something. no sooner than I pulled out of the driveway, before I got to the end of the block, a police car was driving down the block, and I just gave them the information, the address, and told them to go. So I was able to put myself in this situation without really physically putting myself in the situation. There are so many ways that you can help. You don't necessarily have to just say, jump in the middle of something like that. But a phone call, you can reach out to a person who you know something's going on. Maybe just give them a hug. Tell them that you're there for them. You understand if they want to talk. Give them some literature. Call
Right.
some places that may be able to give you some secondhand information on what to do for a situation like this. Because don't think because it's not you physically that it's okay to turn away from this.
Okay.
If you see something, say something.
Gotcha. One of the things, and I'm looking at some of the facts about domestic violence, and just a couple of quick things. Every 15 seconds in the United States, a woman is beaten or assaulted. That's every 15 seconds, and that's what, 20,000 or so phone calls
That
daily?
It used to be every 15 seconds.
Okay.
It's every 9 seconds.
Every
now.
9 seconds.
Yes, and it's
So this number just
yes,
increases, and the time lapse is getting smaller.
yes.
Why do you think, and you're the resident expert, so I'm just asking you the questions as they pop into my head. Why do you think when women are abused or in abusive situations like that, it takes so long for them to leave?
Fear.
Okay.
It's fear. You hear so many people say, "Why she stay? Why you stay? Why they still there? Why you keep going back?"
Okay.
It's fear. It's fear of the unknown. You don't know where you're going to go. You don't know your financial resources if you don't have any. But then the most part of the fear is they get in your head. They manipulate the game. They're masters at what they do. So they're able to get in your head and make you think otherwise.
So it's a psychological
It's a
kind of
psychological. It started off as a psychological abuse.
Okay.
When they have you there, they know they have you.
abuse. Okay. Okay. So when an abuser is apologetic, what is that a sign of? Is that a sign that this abuse is going to end, it's going to continue, the person really doesn't care, they're not conscious of what they're doing? What do you because I hear that many people who are the abuser, they're consistently apologetic about hitting, verbal assaults or whatever it is they're doing to the other person, and they apologize but they repeat. They apologize but they repeat. Why do you think that occurs so often?
Because first of all, they have mastered you.
Okay.
So they know what to say and what to do to make you believe them. Secondly, you have to find out what's going on with the abuser. There's some deep-rooted seeds in there that makes them do the things that they do. And until you hit the surface of what's really going on or hit the core, then you'll never know. A lot of the times they're acting out as well because of things that perhaps have happened to them as children or in their life prior to them being in this relationship. So some of them really do think they're sorry.
Okay.
But they snap back into that other thing. You have to make a change in your life in order to see a change in your life. And if they're consistently doing the same thing, then it becomes a pattern.
Okay.
And you should know that pattern.
Well, let's switch gears for a minute. I see that you have, and I know that you've taken Silent Cries and turned it into a production that's available to the public. And tell the viewer us a little bit more about why you decided to take this approach and why did you decide to turn this into a production for others?
Well, the reason why I did it the way that I did it is because I studied theater, acting. Acting is my passion. I love performing. But I'm also passionate about domestic violence and trying to put an end to domestic violence. So I incorporated the two because I know a lot of people are visual learners. So if they're able to see something, then it may impact them a little bit more than just reading about something or just sitting and listening to something. If you're able to actually see something going on, then you will more than likely stand up and say something. So what I did was I incorporated a live documentary / forum about domestic violence.
Okay.
So what it entails is I wrote and produced the play part of it, and then I have women who have lived through domestic violence tell their story from the beginning to where they are now, the end, how they got out. And the reason why I did this, I call it I'm a voice, not a victim, is because so many women are afraid to speak up, and so many women will never ever be able to speak again because they have been silenced for life.
Okay. Well, we have a caller in the line. Let's take the caller to see.
Yes. Yes, good evening. How y'all guys
Good evening,
doing?
Hi,
sir.
how are you?
Great. Listen, I think that's one of the most saddest things that could ever happen to a human being is by a man putting his hands on a female. I mean, men must think we come from women. We have a mother. We normally have sisters, or you have friends. You know, I think it's just so sad. I used to always think, well, maybe somebody should put a hand on them, but I'm assuming 2 crimes don't make a right. But, you know, sometimes y'all women have to sit up and think. Try to quit fixing people. You can't fix everybody. You got to learn how to fix yourself. You know, you got to, let me tell you, we taught as kids to don't touch fire because it burns. Well, listen, that man could do this to you once, and that is good enough. Get away.
Yes,
Get
sir.
away. Scream. But it's so nice to see women such as you that's speaking up for the other women. So listen, you keep on doing what you're doing. Let me get out the air so I can hear your comment.
Thank you.
And thanks for
Thank you,
taking the call.
Thank you. Thank you
Again.
so much.
I'm Minister Johnny Banks Sr. I'm Executive Director of Anaki at Midnight, and we have with us Linda Turner, who has put together an awesome theater production, Silent Cries. Silent Cries. I'm a voice, not a victim. And let's go back, because I want, this time we have to people to really get some kind of information. Because I'm looking here where it says abuse includes physical abuse such as pushing, hitting, forcing someone to have sex, or not allowing a person to leave a certain domain, which is probably the 4 most prominent areas of abuse when it comes to just stuff that people are familiar with. But if you force a child to watch a physical altercation, that's called abuse. So there's many things that I think people really don't understand about abuse, what forms it take, what shapes it take, and even what you can do about it. And there is a simple thing. It's just simply try to get to safety, get to some other environment, leave the environment you're in, and stay gone. Because so many times people leave those environments and they come back.
Yes.
And like you said, it's the psychological chains of fear. He's going to find me. She's going to find me. What I'm going to do without her. I can't feed my kids. I can't do this. I can't do that. And you put up with the abuse.
Yes.
And that abuse can become deadly. It can be detrimental not only to your health, it can be detrimental to your life.
Yes.
And I think people need to really take it seriously when you put yourself in that situation. Because, you said violence. I mean, fear comes from the unknown. And wherever there's an unknown, violence is there. So when people are not sure about their next move, you can best believe violence is the cause of it. And that's one of the things that we're really struggling with. I know today, I think in the news, there's a football player
Yes.
who's documented and confessed himself the abuse that he inflicted upon his wife.
Yes.
And he was still being paid. He was still on the football team. There were 2 African-American football players that had been banned from the league, banished for their conduct. And it's an interesting how we still can see how this stuff it's according to who you are, where you are, and what you're doing, as to what kind of feedback or pushback you get from your negative behavior that's wrapped around domestic abuse or domestic violence. Let me ask you another question. what role do you think alcohol and drug plays
Oh,
into this reality?
a major, major role.
Okay.
Major role. I know for a long time, when before I knew what was going on when I was in that situation, I didn't know that the person whom I was with was on drugs.
Okay.
Now I didn't know, but after a while, and that part as far as what the caller was saying about trying to help, when you have a person that's able to manipulate the game so well, master the game, you can start to believe some of that because you feel sorry for that person. So it's like, okay, how do we work this out together? You know, or you'll go get help or whatever. And I was much, much younger then.
Okay.
Today, there is no way in hell you can come to me with any type of anything and I not know what's going on right off the back.
Okay.
So, drugs and alcohol play a major part in abuse. Drug, alcohol, and unemployment.
Okay. What do you mean by that? That's I never considered
Yeah.
that. But what do you mean when you say unemployment?
I mean, when you take in consideration that you're supposed to be the man of the household, you're supposed to be the king, and you're unable to provide for your family, that does something to a man. It does. And when you have no money and you're not able to bring in anything, any type of resources, it does something to the family.
Okay.
Now the woman, the queen, is looking at you. You're the provider. What are you doing? How are we going to eat? Are we going to be able to stay here next month? What's going on? So it builds tension. With that tension, other things come about.
Well, it seems to be that children who grow up in violent homes pick up some of these characteristics or some of these ways, some things that they have been exposed to when it comes to being physical with a significant other or wife, hitting someone else, calling people or speaking to people in very derogatory terms. It seems like some of this has been handed down and passed over to the next generation where they think that it is okay. And one of the things that I know about spousal abuse, whether domestic violence or abuse of any kind, is simply, a lot of it is a learned behavior.
It is.
It has been seen, it appears to be acceptable. Nobody really had any pushback, nobody said anything. And so it's amazing how this reality takes shape, and the more we open it up and the more we address it, the more different things that we're going to come to see when we start talking about domestic abuse. Now you have a production that's been ongoing for the month of October.
Yes.
And your next show is when?
Tomorrow, actually.
Oh, you have a show tomorrow?
Yes, I do.
Could you tell
Yes.
the viewing audience where it is?
Okay, it's at Northeastern University, 700 East Oakwood Boulevard, which is in the Bronzeville neighborhood. That's right off of 39th and Cottage Grove, pretty much. This show starts at 7, doors open at 6 for a meet and eat and drink. And yes, show starts at 7 o'clock. Tickets are only $15. What I'm doing is I'm giving part of my proceeds to a domestic battered women's shelter to help out at those places. And what I've been trying to do is sponsor some of the women from the shelters because they cannot afford to come to the show. So I've been asking people, if you can't make it to the show, perhaps you can sponsor one of the women.
Absolutely, absolutely.
To come out and see the show.
Absolutely, and it's so very important that people get this type of information. They come and see firsthand that they are not alone.
Definitely.
That this is not just a me problem. This is a problem for all of us. And due to social media, because I think one of the things about social media, it exposes stuff real quick.
It does.
You know, so things that people may not have considered, it exposes it. It brings it to light where many people can have opinions about it. They can say something about it or just respond or not respond, but it comes to light. And I think that one of the things that does not come to light, and I don't know if I'm finna articulate this right, and maybe you can help me with this, is when it comes to domestic abuse in males and how it's still viewed in a very slanted way. How can a man be battered? How can a man be abused when a lot of times we know that men are not going to say anything? But if we look at the terms of what abuse, verbal abuse, many
Yes.
females are verbally abusive.
Yes. Yes.
Many of them.
Yes.
You know, I mean, and so we don't think about that. And let me and I would be led to believe that a lot of verbal abuse leads to physical abuse.
It does. It
you know.
does.
And I think it's from both sides of the plate, where a person gets tired of the verbal abuse and lashes out, or the verbal abuser becomes physically abusive.
Yes.
You know, and so I think when it comes to men, due to pride, due to machoism, and all those other words that describe what a man is supposed to be, one of the things that he can't talk about is some woman or a female
Right.
abusing
Right.
him.
Right.
You know,
right.
and I think that it's very difficult for men to disclose that kind of information, but I think it behooves them to talk about it because it keeps them on the right side of right, keeps them out of trouble, keep them out of jail, keep them from being accused first. Because it's funny how the first person that rings the phone generally is the one who doesn't have to deal with the law.
Yes.
You know, so we have to deal with that.
Well, on that, I would say a lot of times men don't know that they're being abused. They don't recognize it as abuse because people recognize domestic abuse as a physical thing.
Okay.
So they don't realize that they are actually being abused. And this doesn't start as a man, this starts as a little boy. When you're being mentally and emotionally abused by your parents,
Okay.
your mom, your dad, your girlfriend, your first girlfriend, the first girl you liked, there's abuse there.
Okay.
Saying things to you, so it makes you just build up this wall as you're getting older. You're building this wall. So by the time you get to a certain age and you start dating and you realize who you think you are, you've built up a wall of rage
Okay.
and you act out.
Oh wow.
You act out.
So if you know, as you can see, you know, when you just open up domestic violence and you start talking about it and you get inside of it, a lot of stuff occurs. A lot of things come out. And you have to just go deeper and deeper into the reality, deeper and deeper into the information to continue to extract for you what you need that would help you understand how it impacts, how it affects you. Many of us have not even, like you said, especially men, we never thought about it unless because we weren't going to let nobody hit us. But to be verbally abused, to be assaulted with words, is just as detrimental as being assaulted with fists, sticks, or whatever the case, whatever a person might use. And it's pretty interesting. Listen, my name is Minister Johnny Banks, and I have Linda Turner with me. She has a production tomorrow, Silent Cries, that'll be taking place at Northeastern
Yes.
University.
Yes.
Meet and eat at 6, showtime at 7. I would suggest that anybody come by and come by the university, see what Linda is doing. You will be surprised, as I was. I was very surprised by what was going on. As a matter of fact, I sat there for a while, kind of stupefied because I wasn't prepared for what I was looking at. I wasn't prepared for the presentation or the information, which is why I wanted her to come on the show and just talk to the viewing audience about domestic violence and talk about what she's doing. Linda, we got about 50 seconds left. Why don't you just close us out?
Well, again, Silent Cries is the name of my production. I'm doing this for the people who are unable to speak, the ones who are living in fear, or the ones who didn't survive a domestic violence issue. I ask that you come out and support this because it doesn't just stop here in October. I actually started it last month, and I'm going to continue to do this, and it's not going to just be here in Chicago. I'm going to move around with this, definitely.
Okay.
So.
Well, listen, our show starts on time, it ends on time. For those who don't have a voice, for the silent tears, for the ones who are struggling but saying nothing, always be reminded that in the darkest hour, truth and knowledge are the way. continue to believe that God will do for you what you can't do for yourself. And hopefully we'll see you guys tomorrow at Northeastern University at 6 o'clock for what you'll find to be a marvelous time and a marvelous show. Good night, and God bless you.
Good night.